today. We're going to have the front bench from 4 to 5 very shortly with us. Then after 5 o'clock, Grant Robertson's going to join us. He'll talk through exactly why Labour's reversed on saving Tiwai Point. The Met Service on exactly when the wild weather is going to stop. And Fran O'Sullivan on the mood of the boardroom.
The front bench.
Right, you know things are bad for a party when people start asking whether that party is in its death spiral yet. And unfortunately for National, that is the conversation around National right now. Now, this has been prompted by last night's News Hub Read research poll, which puts it at 29.6%. It's not far off the Colmar-Brunton poll of last week, which had National at 31%. And pretty much what that means is that is about an accurate reflection of where National is at the moment. I don't think that we can today yet answer whether National is in a death spiral. That question's unanswered because I think we need one more poll, which is tonight's Colmar-Brunton poll. The reason I don't think that we can yet call it a death spiral is just because that last poll that we've got, last night's one, right, News Hub Read Research, putting them on 29%, was taken before Judith got Crusher back. Now, the poll was conducted leading up to Wednesday last week, which means it caught all of the bad stuff. So the weird coquettish Judith act and the several billion-dollar fiscal hole revelation of Paul Goldsmith's. But then Wednesday, which is exactly when this poll ended, Wednesday things changed. So Judith Collins performed better in the TVNZ debate than Jacinda Ardern did. As we've said, won't win her very many votes, but will stop, or hopefully for her, will stop or slow the voter exodus to ACT. Since then, Crusher's taken the fight directly to the Labour leader, Jacinda Ardern. She's gone into battle for National's traditional voting base, which largely includes the farmers. She's promised to repeal regulations, including the Zero Carbon Bill or Act now. And some of us have noticed Jerry has been taken off the billboards. So the campaign seems to have changed tack, right? There are reports that Judith is essentially going solo on the campaign now. She's taking less advice from Jerry and his team. And this is good because their advice has led to a confused campaign where National seemed to lose its backbone, made bad strategic decisions, and just made a lot of big mistakes. It's a good pivot. The question is, does it show up in tonight's poll? If it does, National still has a chance to save the furniture. If it doesn't, the death spiral becomes a real thing.
The front bench.
And joining me now on the front bench, we have political editor Barry Soper, former, hopefully.
I hope he is.
Hopefully. Yeah. Former Labour Minister Chris Carter and former ACT Party Secretary and PR expert Trish Sherson. Hello, you guys.
Hello.
All right, let's start with you, Chris. Do you agree that we are now in death spiral territory?
I know you'd expect me as a Labour supporter to say yes, but I'm not going to say yes, Heather, because we've still got 3 weeks to go. And remember that immortal quote that Harold Macmillan, the former British Prime Minister, gave when an earnest young journalist asked him, Mr. Prime Minister, what's the most difficult thing in politics? And he said, events, dear boy, events. Anything could happen in the next 3 weeks. The challenge for Jacinda is to not look complacent, to make sure that Labour voters don't think it's in the bag and not turn up. The challenge for Judith is not to have that continuing hemorrhage to ACT, and to try and keep her support, as you've just outlined.
Events are the thing, Trish, right? But in this extremely safe campaign, we haven't had a lot of events. I don't know that we're going to have a lot of events. It feels to me like the events are the polls. They are the events, and they are going to drive behaviour, don't you think?
I think they are now. And actually, we've talked about this before, but relying on a disaster for the government as your campaign strategy isn't going to cut it. I think you're right about Collins sort of now going it alone, but that comes with its own dangers because if we're looking at the numbers we are, if when National gets back in on those numbers, you're going to lose at least 3 top front benches. That would be Woodhouse, Nicola Willis and Paul Goldsmith. You would lose 14 other list MPs. You're going to have a very fractured party coming back in, and if you've sailed along on your own through the campaign, it's going to be very hard to then rally the troops when you've started to firm up, which Collins has, that she doesn't want to give up the leadership no matter how bad the election result. So it's a real balancing act. I can understand it, and she has definitely had a lot more momentum in the last week. The real Judith Collins absolutely turned up to the debate, and it was great to see. But it is you've got to look just beyond the 17th of October and how you will then pull the party together if you want to stay leader.
Okay, and I want to come back to Judith Collins because I think the performances by Judith and Jacinda are both really important. But Barry, at polling like this, right, there is no path. We've seen this in 2 polls now. There is no clear path to victory for National. So is she just saving the furniture? Does she just have to go hard?
No, I think Chris is right, quoting Macmillan, that events can change things. And if you think back to, I think it was the 2002 campaign. I mean, National plummeted to 20% of the vote on the election night. But during that campaign, you had an event, and Peter Dunn performed at that event, and he turned the United Future Party around in one debate, and got 7 or 8 MPs, I think it was, into Parliament. So, these debates are probably more important than what we think. If you look at the debate last week, more than 1 million people. It was more than the 2017 debate between Ardern and English. So there's always the possibility that if Judith Collins goes out and has a blinder, I don't know whether it'll turn it around to such an extent, but you've got to remember that ACT has been creeping up every opinion poll. It'll be interesting to see where they are tonight. I mean, I'm sure all of us being involved in loving politics, we'd all like to see a closer, maybe not you, Chris, but we'd all like to see
definitely not me.
A closer contest because if you've got a bit of a closer contest, it makes the election night much more fun.
Yeah.
And I know it's not much fun for the participants if you're as where Judith Collins is at the moment, but, I think don't write them totally off yet, because there'll be that glimmer
Because
of
you
hope.
deny Barry his fun.
Well, I think especially too because we've got an election for with 2 female leaders, potentially 2 quite strong female leaders, and it would be great to see a real contest. And I think that's what I found exciting tuning into that debate. You felt like there was a contest going on, and they were, and they in their own way, they were really equally sort of positioned.
Yeah. Listen, Trish, you used to work for ACT, right? How high do you reckon ACT can go?
Well, I'm going to put $5 down and say I think they'll be higher in the Colmar-Brunton poll tonight.
So anything above 7?
Oh, I think they may get just around 7 or over.
Yeah, I suspect so too.
And actually this week, and it'll be interesting to see what everyone else thinks, I've been starting to think about election night theme tunes, and we'll come to Winston's later, but ACT is definitely a bat out of hell.
At the moment.
Yeah, that is certainly an image in your head, isn't it? What do you reckon, Chris? How high do you reckon ACT can go here?
Well, it's quite clear that ACT is the beneficiary of hemorrhaging national votes.
And New Zealand First to some extent, right?
And probably New Zealand First to
I
some
mean,
extent.
I think
So-
12%, 12%
No, I don't think
First.
New Labour
Not
votes.
one Labour vote, you'd say. Chris,
Well, I think it's
Am I wrong-
unlikely
am
it'd
I
be
wrong
very
in
many.
thinking that News Hub last night showed that there were some Labour votes
yes,
who moved over to ACT?
Yeah, I think there were too. I mean, and it was at least 12, I think it was 12.6% had come from New Zealand First, which is quite big.
Quite significant.
And do you know
Look,
what? David Seymour, he's in the ilk of, we have oddball leaders in New Zealand have done well. I think you go back to Muldoon, you look at David Longy, you look at John Key, and I've got to say, David Seymour is quite an oddball person, and as we saw in his Dancing with the Stars, he's not afraid to make a dick of himself, just as John Key wasn't when he was Prime Minister. So we like oddball people, and I think he fits that really well with the ACT brand.
Except, Barry, I think it's more than that. It's the alliance soared when Labour fell. ACT is soaring while National falls.
Yeah, there is. It's a symbiotic.
Well,
thing,
if
isn't
you
it?
like oddballs, Barry, just wait till 9 of them coming off the ACT list.
I know we're all looking forward to that. All right,
They're bearing their guns.
Let's take a
Yes.
break. It's 16 past 4 here on News Talk ZB. You're with the front bench. When we come back, we are going to be discussing Crusher Collins. Is that the right strategy? And what is the right strategy from the Prime Minister? Presumably anything other than looking bored in the next Leaders' Debate. News Talk ZB.
Good location, eh?
It is. The median sale price is up 6.2%. Your work is 23 minutes away. And we're in zone for a great primary school.
School? Why does that matter.
Are you ready to settle on a new home? With OneRoof, you'll find all the information you need, from thousands of in-depth listings, sales data, suburb information, property records and much more. Be property prepared with OneRoof.
How can you tell what's real? Is it real if you've read it, heard it, seen it? The story is a story as soon as it's been shared. But how do you know you can believe it?
Believe it when you read it in New Zealand's Herald.
List your vehicle for sale on Driven for just $20. Load up to 25 photos, keep your listing up until it sells, and reach thousands of potential buyers. Sell your car at driven.co.nz.
Thrashing out the big issues. The Front Bench on Heather Duplessis Allen Drive. News Talk ZB.
Almost peaked a bit early. Welcome back. You are with the Front Bench. We have got Barry Soper, Chris Carter and Trish Sherson with us. Matt has sent a text through saying, Heather, I'm going to wait for the poll tonight, but I've been so disappointed in Judith. If the slide continues, I'm off to ACT. So what do you think, Barry, is the way to deal with this? We've had Crusher, we've had coquettish Collins. Now we've got Crusher Collins. Which of the two is going to work better?
Oh, I think undoubtedly Crusher Collins works much better. I mean, I think, when you think back to that debate, she came across to me as somebody who had much more authority than what we've seen up until now. She performed much better against Ardern than we ever saw her perform in the House during question time. And she was, to me, much more on top of her game.
Yeah.
That's not to say that, to me, Ardern seemed a bit disengaged and not as strong as she can be, because she's pretty good in these situations as well. But I really think on the night, and Chris no doubt won't agree with this, but I do think that Crusher Collins, showing the sort of person she was, she had the edge on that night in the first debate. The edge, not overwhelmingly, but I think she came out of it on top.
Is it? What do you think, Chris? I mean, Barry's just basically drawn you into this. Do you think that is a strategy that she can continue with? Because it seems to me that it might appeal to the sort of more right wing of her base, maybe not so much those who like the Prime Minister.
Well, as Heather, we've already been discussing, the big challenge for Judith is to keep those voters and stop them going to ACT.
Yeah.
They're not going to go to Labour, they're going to ACT. I think that it's really important for anybody in a debate, a leaders' debate, to be authentic. So Judith being Judith is probably working for her base very well. Jacinda doesn't do bitchy. Jacinda doesn't do flippancy. She does serious, focused policy stuff, and that's what came through. So, if you're looking,
she does a lot of flannel and waffle.
If you're looking,
serious
and technocratic jargon.
If you're looking for a theatre, you're not going to get it from Jacinda.
Well, see,
but if you're looking for leadership, you certainly are going to get that.
You know
from
what?
Jacinda.
Okay, this is a really risky strategy, actually, even for Jacinda. Although probably nothing is risky for her at the moment, Trish. But she can look. I mean, clearly, what she's trying to do is look prime ministerial. It flips very easily into looking entitled and bored
and arrogant. I agree.
Oh, surely you can't say she was arrogant. She was serious, but she wasn't.
No,
arrogant.
I thought it was it tipped into the condescending at points. Some of the waffle and the technocratic jargon. It's kind of like I'm the Prime Minister and I'm a blah blah. And to me, it felt like the same boring patter that you get at the 1 p.m. COVID-19 update. I kept having sort of traumatic.
Even the brow of concern, the furrowed brow of concern.
And it was kind of a flip, right? The opening shot, you had Judith smiling, but slightly
cynically,
maniacally.
with a slight sneer on her face.
But you had, it was almost like Ardern thought, I have to show people we are in a crisis. And I will do that throughout the thing.
But colleagues, we are in a crisis. You've been talking about it for the last 4 weeks.
But do you know what? Do you know what? It's that crisis. It's the pandemic that's really made Jacinda Ardern and the Labor Party, because don't forget, right through...
But Barry, that's about leadership, right?
We talked about the polls right earlier on. National under Simon Bridges was mid-40s consistently, and that was from 2008. They were polling there. COVID came along, suddenly everybody got scared, and the support went to Labor. So Ardern has called it the COVID election, rightly so, because without COVID, she wouldn't be where she is today.
No, but she's demonstrated that COVID could have been disastrous for her, as it has been for a number of other people like Boris Johnson, for example. But because she's shown great leadership, she's kept the country safe. We've done very well. Those are incredible assets for any politician.
We have got to take a break. We're gonna go to it very quickly. When we come back, we're going to talk about Tiwai Point. Labor's done a big U-turn on that, and also we have to get to the cannabis referendum and Jacinda's role in that. 4:23 News Talk ZB.
Sherson, Carter, Duplessis Allen, the front bench on News Talk ZB.
All right, welcome back. It's 4:26. So we have the situation right now with Tiwai Smelter. Labor has in the past said it's not terribly interested in doing the deal, trying to keep the thing open, Chris. And all of a sudden today we've got an indication from them that they are now going to make an effort to keep it open. Why the flip?
It's about jobs, Heather.
It's about the election, Chris.
The deal that's been done with Rio Tinto is they'll get support between the next 3 and 5 years if they keep full employment as it is at the smelter. So it's totally about jobs. There could be, I know I could hear the cynic Barry in the background say it's about politics. Well, yes, the Invercargill seat is quite close, and Sarah Dowie has gone, the sitting MP, so Liz Craig was not that far behind her in the last election, Labor's candidate. So I guess there's might be a little bit of that, but fundamentally it's about jobs.
Yeah, but
and it's interesting that that National also supports that.
Of course it's totally political, because in July I went back just to see what Grant Robertson and Megan Woods had been saying, and down in Invercargill today, of course, Megan Woods was with Jacinda Ardern. Now, what Megan Woods was doing, selling the sausage, saying, this is in July, that there will be no more concession on electricity prices for Rio Tinto. She said she expected power prices would be lower once the 14% that they use in electricity comes off. So she was absolutely convinced there would be no lower prices that Bill English said back in 2013. What have they done? They've done an absolute reversal today, because the election's 3 weeks away.
Yeah, and they did not want to be seen to be pulling the plug this close. And also, don't forget, Winston's been down there beating his drum, hoping it's one of his single issues, hoping he could drum up enough votes just to cobble together a bit more support.
Now, look, of course it's political, Trish, but is it bad?
Yeah, is it a bad thing? The workers at Tiwai will no doubt think it's a fantastic outcome.
Well, I think they will, but actually, again, this is back to that idea of being a brave, transformational government. At some point, the economics tell us that Tiwai is not going to be there.
Okay, but can I just actually pick you up on something there, which is the idea that they say they're a brave, transformational government, right? Actually, none of us want them to be brave and transformational, because most of their brave and transformational ideas are terrible.
Well, they haven't happened.
Isn't that the perfect thing? You say you're brave and transformational, so you keep the sort of left wing of the party happy, and then you don't do anything, so you keep the middle voter happy.
But at some point, that is going to bite you in the bum. Yeah. And the interesting thing on that was there was a great piece over the weekend on a totally different topic, but it was about Labor's huge sexual abuse and family violence, their big program that has
Jan Logie, right?
Absolutely failed to fire. Another one, absolutely failed to deliver. And so at some point, those chickens are all going to come home to roost, because you can kind of go along for a certain period. But
Trish, this is a party that always knew it was possibly the way it's carrying on, maximo 2 terms, right? That's the maximum that this party is going to get if it carries on like this. So they're locking in their second term.
But remember, they have
particular topic. The Southlanders, and I am one of them.
Yeah.
Southlanders can see through this quite easily, that this is pure electioneering. And up until today, Labor was down there selling salmon farms and aquaculture and how they're going to fix the Southland economy without Rio Tinto.
All right, let's go to the break, and when we come back, sorry Barry, then when we come back, let's talk about Winston Peters and his revelation on Ehumato and News Talk ZB.
Good location, eh?
It is. The median sale price is up 6.2%. Your work is 23 minutes away. And we're in zone for a great primary school.
School? Why does that matter?
Are you ready to settle on a new home? With OneRoof, you'll find all the information you need, from thousands of in-depth listings, sales data, suburb information, property records and much more. Be property prepared with OneRoof.
List your vehicle for sale on Driven for just $20. Load up to 25 photos, keep your listing up until it sells, and reach thousands of potential buyers. Sell your car at driven.co.nz.
Kia ora Aotearoa. Angus Hines here with your national weather update. I know we've just gone through daylight saving, just gone through the spring equinox, but we're currently in the midst of some pretty nasty weather. One of the most vicious polar outbreaks we've had so far this year, bringing the lowest and most extensive snow that we've seen right throughout 2020. You can sort of see what's happening here. It's a little bit of a mess across the South Island at the moment, but in general, very chilly air making its way northwards. It'll become a little clearer as we look at the pressure chart. There's a whole succession of weather features, fronts and troughs sliding their way northwards, each one bringing successively colder air up from the south. Not all southerlies are created equal, and I want to zoom out a bit to show you why this one is so intense. Remember, this is all to do with the wind flow. The wind flows parallel with the isobars, and as we zoom out over the Southern Ocean, you can just see these long, almost dead straight isobars coming from the far south. Now we flick on the wind, and it is coming. Boy, that's cold. All the way down from somewhere near Antarctica, rushes over the Southern Ocean. By the time it reaches our country, still extremely frigid air, and that is why we have seen snow on the beach down in Southland Island, Invercargill, Stewart Island as well. Snow right to sea level, with more to come through the rest of Monday and into Tuesday. Now we're going to put on the snow, play through the accumulated snowfall. By the end of tomorrow night, this is what we can expect to fall in terms of snow between now and then. And for the entire far south of the country, that snow signal goes right to the coast. That tells you that snow is right down to sea level. Very low, some pretty decent accumulations there too, 20, 30, even 40 centimetres in some areas. Tracking a little further north, Canterbury doesn't see any snow, but central and western parts of the South Island certainly do. We have got a number of snow warnings and snow watches active, so check it out for those southern regions. And the North Island central spots do see a dusting as well. Let's take a look at the forecast for Tuesday, starting at the top of the country. So snow is not an issue here, but that doesn't mean it's all fine and dandy, because we have cold showers pushing across the region in the morning, along with a surge of some pretty chilly and rather strong southwest winds. In general, the afternoon is bright and sunny, but it is going to stay breezy. A very gusty afternoon for Auckland with a stiff southwester, and it's going to stay rather cool as well. Then for the evening, there is a low risk of a couple further showers rolling into western spots from Waikato northwards. The evening showers are rather hit and miss. Another windy day for central New Zealand. This time it's pretty much a strict westerly flow, which means for once Wellington is not the windiest spot on Tuesday. That's going to be Taranaki, Manawatu, the Tararua district and Hawke's Bay, all of those places very breezy. Throughout this part of the country, plan for morning showers. For many, that will thin out, clear up nicely for the afternoon. So the capital and these eastern places get a pretty bright afternoon, although rather chilly. However, intermittent shower activity will continue on the other side of the country. So from Palmerston North up to New Plymouth, intermittent rainfall for the entire day. Down south, it is a very windy day here. Strong southwest breezes right across the South Island throughout Tuesday. Cold winds as well. So 9, 10 degrees for the max. The wind chill is going to make it feel like 5 or 6 for most of the day. In terms of rainfall, it is all confined to the west and central parts of the South Island. That's where the is as well. So for Marlborough, Kaikoura, Christchurch and Canterbury, relatively clear skies, bright and sunny to go along with the cold windy weather. But the other side of the country, you start off with either rain or snow. The snow will be down to around about 200 metres at its lowest. So some fairly low snow throughout Bulla and Westland. And then all of the precipitation eases back after lunch. Cold conditions here, nasty weather actually here in the morning. Very strong winds with showers, snow showers right down to sea level. You do want to take precautions if you have to spend time outdoors, because it could get pretty vicious at stages. In general, there's a slowly improving trend throughout the day. As the winds ease off a little bit, the showers do thin out. They never completely disappear for these southern spots. So a further shower or snow shower is possible anywhere south of Queenstown. So basically just be aware of the weather the entire day, because you don't want to get caught out stuck in a little bit of snow when you're not prepared for it. So it's definitely an active day of weather down here tomorrow on Tuesday. We're going to step ahead, look at the pressure chart for Wednesday, and we're going to see the drastic change that's coming midweek as this high over the Tasman just swells up, stretches out over the country, leading to much more settled conditions for Wednesday afternoon, then some pretty good weather for much of the country on Thursday and Friday. It will stay cold, however, but most of the rain, most of the snow will be easing off. So just quickly, North Island gets a pretty clear day on Wednesday. Some morning cloud for many regions and isolated morning showers from Taranaki up to Northland in the west. That does include Auckland, by the way. Then the afternoon looking pretty good throughout the area. As for the south, very cold to start, likely to be some frost or maybe even some severe frost in the morning. Then a bright day for the top 2/3 of the island. There will still be some morning showers down south, and again some snow showers possible. Not quite as low this time. We're looking more about 200 metres and upwards. After lunch, the snow showers and any further rainfall should clear up, and we have a pretty bright afternoon, but staying on the cooler side with highs of 9 or 10 degrees. So a lot to come in the next 36 hours. Stay on top of your local weather. That's at metservice.com. For now, kia pai tōra.
topic is off limits. It's the Front Bench on News Talk ZB.
Beautiful people, top designer clothes, front row fashion shows. What you do and who you know, inside the world of beautiful people, champagne and roll up nose.
Welcome back here with the Front Bench. Barry Soper, Chris Carter and Trish Sherson. Just a reminder, after 5 o'clock, Grant Robertson, our sports minister, is going to be with us. We, of course, spoke on the show on Friday about the fact that the ASB Tennis Classic is kind of in a bit of a difficult position at the moment, can't get any answers on their quarantine plan, so hopefully he'll be able to explain that to us. In the meantime, let us go to the Front Bench. So on Friday, Winston Peters gave a speech at Orewa, Barry, and it was a race relations speech. Is he, I mean... Given that is what Don Brash did in 2004, and it kicked him off in a big way, and he came close. He came really, really close, right, to beating Helen Clark. Do you think that Winston Peters was trying to emulate this? Is it a desperation?
It's been suggested to Winston that was why he did it, and of course he's obviously vehemently denied it. But there's no coincidence that it was Orewa and Don Brash really scored a big hit by doing, like we were talking at the beginning, events. And that was one event that, but I think more importantly, what Winston's doing here is he's telling the secrets of the cabinet table. And he's done this, and I think you'll see more of this. And there's no doubt that he has always been consistent on ihumatao. He's always said that there shouldn't be a settlement of taxpayers' money when it's privately owned. So at least he's been consistent in that, and he's just given us an indication of what went on behind the cabinet doors. And I think that's quite important. I think it's interesting, and it does tell you something about the dynamic that he's been involved in.
Okay, the thing about it is, Chris, he does this. The Prime Minister is amazing at basically just brushing it off, the Winston Peters stuff. Is this a strategy he should continue to pursue? Is it going to work for him?
Well, we talked last week, didn't we, and the week before that, about how no party is in a more desperate position than New Zealand First, which is scoring less than 2% in the two most recent polls. So he's desperately clutching at straws. And, you know, this situation that ihumatao is a very complex situation. It's not a simple situation.
The government should have never involved itself.
I know, but in a way, it was dragged into it. But anyway, that's a whole other issue. It's why is Winston doing it? He's doing it because he's desperate. He's trying to get publicity, as Barry has just said. He was playing on the infamous Don Brash speech at Orewa. And it doesn't appear to have worked, does it?
Let's have a listen to what Winston said. When he spoke to us on Friday, he revealed that he had blocked a deal on ihumatao 3 times and threatened to pull the pin on the coalition over it. This is what he said.
And the Prime Minister should never have gone there, because we had an agreement before we even set up the government in 2017 that such a thing would not happen.
All right, Trish, I've got a text here from Steve on this saying, Heather, can you please ask the panel whether the Prime Minister should disclose the ihumatao deal before the election, transparency, etc.? What do you think?
Well, yes, she should, but is she going to?
No, she's not.
Absolutely not. So that's that. I mean, I think the bigger point here about Winston is that he is just not getting any traction. So that was Friday, right? If you think of this whole campaign, normally we'd be in the fever pitch of Winston and the balance of power, and he'd be getting almost as much airtime as the leaders of the two big parties.
Absolutely.
He is getting absolutely nothing.
David Seymour's getting all the action.
Far more action, because he's now fulfilling that role, right? He's interesting for the media. But this is in my other theme song pick for Winston Peters, which occurred to me over the weekend when I saw, it was actually the pictures last night of Winston around the local market. And I thought the classic election night theme song for Winston would actually be Frank Sinatra's My Way, because that song was actually Frank singing about facing the final curtain and reflecting on things. The lyrics are absolutely perfect.
What about Everybody Loves Somebody Sometime?
Or Elton John's wonderful song, Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me.
What about the final countdown, etc.?
Touche, Heather.
Does he know that this is his final countdown, or looks a lot like it?
Well, it looks a lot like it. And isn't it interesting? This is one of the few topics we've had that we actually all agree on, right?
Yeah.
It's a lovely feeling, isn't it? There's some kind of warmth in my heart, which is unusual. I think so.
I think it's rather sad. I mean, it's an ignominious end. Yeah. Don't forget, though, he did go out in 2008 when John Key said he wouldn't work with him. So he had 3 years on the outside looking in. But this is his swan song, really, when you think about it. The man's 75.
Yes.
You know, a lot of people say to me, oh, Barry, you know, you support Winston. Well, not necessarily, but I think he's a consummate politician. Yeah. He knows politics like no one else in the place. He knows how to play the political game, and generally he does it pretty well. On this situation, I think, look, he sort of lost the ball, and he's finding it really difficult to find one to pick it up and kick it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Barry. And you know, he's been actually a very effective foreign minister for New Zealand, but time's up.
Okay, so here's the thing, right? Trish, everybody says never count him out, and yet everything at the moment feels like we can actually count him out. Advanced voting starts on Saturday. He is really struggling in the polls. He hasn't been able to capture the zeitgeist, because the zeitgeist, for oppositional zeitgeist, is to go the Prime Minister and go the Labour Party. He can't do that. He was in the bed with them. And the other thing as well is you've got Advanced New Zealand, who are kind of filling that space, right?
Yeah, that's right. And you also think about his actual core voter base is probably shrinking as well. And I think more to the point, this election, we're just seeing that. And I agree with Barry. He has been a consummate politician, whether you agree with what he's done or not. That level of understanding of actually Parliament and its processes, that will be a loss. But I think he has, it's just his time has passed. And I think that's more what you're seeing this election. He just can't get his finger on the pulse.
Yeah. Okay, let's take a break with the front bench. The next question is going to be, does Jacinda Ardern, the Labour leader, need to tell us which way she's voting on the cannabis referendum? 16 away from 5. News Talk ZB.
Big opinion, nothing held back. The Front Bench on Heather Duplessis Allen Drive. News Talk ZB.
Right, it's 14 away from 5. A text here says Winston is getting no traction because he went with Labour in 2017 and not National, and there might be an element of truth to that. Certainly would have upset some people, yeah. Okay, so the question is, should Jacinda Ardern, given that she is the most popular politician in the country by a mile right now actually come out and say which way she's going to vote for the cannabis referendum, given the thing is not doing very well. What do you reckon, Chris? I mean, this thing is not going to pass, right?
I don't think she should. It's a private vote. She is, I'm happy about it, but there may be some of our listeners that are not, that she's Prime Minister. So as Prime Minister, she has a status and an authority which ordinary MPs don't have.
Yeah.
So I think she's absolutely entitled to the privacy of a vote. On the euthanasia bill, where she has come out, she's already voted on that in Parliament in stages. So she's on record. So for this one, I think she's keeping quiet, and she should too.
I think the public can take it as a foregone conclusion that she's going to vote for cannabis law reform.
Well, Barry, I don't know about that because
she's a moral. She's I've been thinking liberal.
I've been thinking about it myself. I'm a liberal too, but I haven't made up my mind yet how I'm going to vote. On the euthanasia one, I'm absolutely clear I'm going to vote yes. Yeah. But for this one, there's the balance between sending messages about addiction issues or substances, and also trying to keep out criminality out of it. So it's not an easy one to decide on.
When you vote no, you keep criminality in it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So there's pluses and minuses on both sides, and I myself am unclear on it. And I know you three would think I'm a raving liberal, and I guess I am. But Jacinta may well be in the same situation. She may not have made up her mind yet, but it comes down to it, I think, that she's the Prime Minister. So whatever opinion she gave carries an enormous amount of weight.
Do you think we're too influenced by the Prime Minister's views?
I think that's absolute nonsense, and I think it's classic politics from Jacinta Ardern that she hasn't declared her position on it, because it leaves a lot of wiggle room around difficult questions. Because you imagine if she came out and said, yes, I'm supporting it, well, it would immediately go to a whole lot of personal questions and other things. Which
exactly.
I think,
so why should she do that?
No, because I think that's really easy if you're up for that, to talk that through. I think it is a really important referendum.
Have you made up your mind about it yet? I haven't.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, me too.
100%.
Well, there we are. What about you, Heather?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
Yeah. But I will say, I have some sympathy for your position on this, Chris, because it is a line call, right?
It's a
difficult structural change we'll be making to society. I do think, though, here's the thing. I think that what she does is she loses any kind of moral authority from here on in on any subject to do with cannabis. If you're not prepared to go out there and say, this is my position, if you don't have the courage of your convictions on it, you cannot say anything from here on in. She neuters herself, doesn't she?
Yeah, but you're talking about courage, I was very sympathetic to it. Then I got elected to the DHB. I'm one of the elected members of the Waitemata DHB. And, the health stuff that's coming through to us on the DHB from medical professionals is very anti the legislation because of its health impacts, on potential health impacts. It's given me pause to think. Now, why wouldn't Jacinta be different to that? Because presumably she's getting an enormous amount of briefing.
But you can't say she hasn't had time to get a position together.
Yeah, but I've had plenty of time too, but I'm now looking at other stuff. I haven't made up my mind on it.
Look,
I thought I had, but I haven't.
But she's in a different position to all of us. She will know exactly which way she's going to vote. I've no doubt about that at all. And I believe that given her voting pattern in Parliament, she'll vote yes, I think, without
Well, presumably
doubt.
if she hadn't made up her mind, she'd actually come out and say she hadn't
No,
made up her mind.
but looking at my voting pattern at Parliament, I was there for a very long time, you would have thought I would have voted yes, but I'm not sure now. Maybe she's the same.
What the government needs more than anything else at the moment is money. And
Barry, what are you suggesting?
What I'm saying is
$1 billion revenue
legalised, then you've got the government with their hands in the dope smokers' pockets.
And gangs are out of it.
This is reform, right? Yeah. This is exactly the same as pushing all the tough stuff to working groups, right? That the Prime Minister has done.
No, Trish, you're right. Jacinda Ardern actually stands for very little.
I agree.
And the things come on, man. The things she stands for, like child poverty, like transformation and inequality,
nothing's happening.
You can't do anything about it.
All the plastics, actually,
which we're going to get to next.
Come on.
Okay, you hold your thought on the plastics. Let's take a break and we'll come back and discuss the plastics. It's 9 to 5.
Good location, eh?
It is. The median sale price is up 6.2%. Your work is 23 minutes away. And we're in zone for a great primary school.
School? Why does that matter?
Are you ready to settle on a new home? With OneRoof, you'll find all the information you need from thousands of in-depth listings, sales data, suburb information, property records and much more. Be property prepared with OneRoof.
How do you know when something's real? Is it real if you've read it, heard it, seen it? The story is a story as soon as it's been shared. How do you know you can believe it?
Believe it when you read it in New Zealand's Herald.
G'day, I'm Sam, and here at driven.co.nz, we've got a nifty toolbox to help make buying and selling a car easier. Selling, but not sure what price to put on it? Our car value calculator will give you a really good starting point. If you're buying a new car, our cost to run tool will give you a rough estimate of what the car will cost you each year to run. We can also tell you the best time to sell so you get the sweetest possible return. Check out the toolbox at driven.co.nz.
Hard-hitting views, untamed. The Front Bench on Heather Duplessis Allen Drive. News Talk ZB.
Right, it's 6 away from 5. You're back with the Front Bench. So a text here says, this is the best hour of radio. I bloody love it. From Susie. Thank you, Susie. We love you too. And also a text here says the Prime Minister is not saying she hasn't made up her mind. She's saying she doesn't want to sway the vote. It's more realistic to believe she doesn't want to compromise herself, which is probably fair.
My words exactly, Heather.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
I think my sister wrote that.
It took him 5 minutes to say that.
Trish, listen, what do you want to say on plastics?
Well, I just want to say that the Labor announcement on plastics is an absolute classic. So it's a great headline. It's like the ban on foreign buyers. When you dig down, it is actual. I'm not sure if we're allowed to say bullshit, but I'm going to say it.
No, it's out now, isn't it?
Actual bullshit. Number one, the horizon is so long. Number two, if you look at it, so it's another personal commitment from the Prime Minister because children have been writing letters. Don't get me wrong. I think New Zealand should go really hard and fast on this stuff. But when you even looked at the list, and I saw Catherine Rich call this out from the Food and Grocery Council, so they're banning plastic cotton buds. Well, they haven't been produced for a couple of years.
Yeah, everybody buys the bamboo stuff, don't they?
Yeah. And the other thing that I noticed on there, and this has actually come into force in Europe, and I think this is right. So on the products which are the real kind of baddies around plastic and waste, which are actually women's sanitary products. Sorry, Chris and Barry, but that's the truth.
I need you to apologise, Trish.
On that packaging in Europe, it has to have a warning like they have on smoking packets around harm. They have to say this product is harmful to the environment.
Like plastic nappies as well.
And all of that, plastic nappies, all of that absolute crap. And I think that is the kind of stuff we should be doing. In New Zealand, we're great at getting on and
But
doing
Trish, have you forgotten that it was the Labor-led government that banned plastic bags in supermarkets? One billion plastic bags gone from New Zealand in the last year.
I still go and buy my fruit and there's plastic bags. It's a nonsense.
Barry, what are you going to say about plastic bags?
Absolutely absurd. So what did they do? They banned plastic bags from supermarkets. What do we do now to line our bins? We go out and buy rolls of plastic bags. So what's the difference? I think it's absolute
It's taken
sham.
1 billion plastic bags out of circulation in the last year.
You replace them with 1 billion bought. So basically what they've done is they've cost the grocery shop
Barry, come
money
on.
by having to buy plastic bags.
It sounds like
for bin
all
liners.
four of us are against gross use of plastics in the world. And
Yeah.
Trish was just saying before the program began that she'd been out picking plastic up on a beach. Trish, that's great. As the former conservation minister, I think that I want to applaud that. And
Thank you, Chris.
Politics aside, keep up that good work.
The warmth in here today has been amazing. I feel quite unusual.
But 61% of rubbish that's lying on beaches in New Zealand is plastic.
Ban it now. Don't ban it in
that policy's doing nothing about it. That's the problem.
But
it's
the policy,
absolute nonsense.
It's moving in the right direction. So we've got two things right.
Well, now we understand. Now we understand the slogan. Let's keep moving.
Very slowly.
By 2025, hard to recycle plastics are out. We're going to have standardised collection and curbs all over New Zealand. At the moment, it's very spasmodic. Some councils do it properly, and some
most
don't.
plastic
boring.
goes
Like
to,
that's it.
dumps
This is
anyway.
not a policy announcement.
We don't need policy.
Right.
Love your long time though, Chris. All right, listen, thank you very much to the front bench, Barry Soper, Trish Scherson, Chris Carter. We're going to go to the headlines, and when we come back, what is this music, Ans? Oh, My Way for you, Trish. So here we go. This is for Winston. If you're listening, Winston, Trish has picked this one for you. We're going to go to the headlines, and when we come back, Grant Robertson's going to be with us, talk us through the tennis, and Tiwai, News Talk ZB.
It was my